A warning. This video may contain what you could deem as disturbing imagery. However, none of the visuals you see on screen represent or reflect on real-life incidents or crimes. Watch with a hint of caution. Pretty please? Thank you. Five Nights at Freddy's virtually needs zero introduction. It's an indie horror game made in 2014 by the genius hands of Scott Cawthon, a Christian game developer that hadn't made a big hit up until the release of the titular horror game. The cultural impact of Five Nights at Freddy's could be said to be absolutely phenomenal, sparking a fanbase of its own that thrives off the idea of haunted animatronics, and using that as fuel for their own creations. A few years ago, I stumbled upon an interesting video made by Scruffy that analyses and reviews the sound design of FNaF, and speaks high praise of it in a well-deserved spotlight. Though, even as a sound artist, the sound design was not the only thing that interested me. Dun dun dun! When it comes to media that involves particular characters, it's rare to ever see it done with the concept of sound only. There are usually a plethora of different factors including visuals and particular shot techniques. To synthesize a proper product, you need multiple components to not only sell the idea, but make it entirely believable. Scott Cawthon, upon making FNaF, had proven that he had the skill in both the field of sounds and visuals, managing to use color grading, lighting, and texturing to bring the animatronics to life. As a kid, I had genuinely believed that the Bonnie and Chica suits in particular were actual humans in suits rather than animated models for a sprite sheet. So, let's break down the hierarchy of Five Nights at Freddy's visuals and see what makes it so unique. Picture this hypothetical. You're about 5 years deep into your dreadful, tiring office job. Your vision fixed on a dull, box screen monitor, your eyes blurring out the corners of your desk as you stare mindlessly at a litter of work. You hear a barely functioning fan buzzing in the foreground, and you only wish you could go home. Offices, in most cases, tend to be a very dull place. Not only are they sported with a consistent theme of whites, greys, and sometimes blacks, but they always make you feel one particular and common emotion: exhaustion. In Five Nights at Freddy's, it isn't really all that different. You have the square-shaped office, two mechanical doors to your right and left with lights attached to ward off the animatronics. But then you hear the decrepit fan buzz, the desk littered with rubbish, and the wall decorated with mutely coloured posters, particularly drawings from the kids that had visited Freddy's. What a shitty little job you have, right? It's no secret that, despite the mundane look of your office, you're actually fighting for your goddamn life in that rundown pizzeria. 4 animatronics, on the off chance 5, are trying to kill you because they think you're the one responsible for their death. And your only way to fend them off? Well, apart from the doors, is knowing where they are, which is why you get a trusty old camera. As you flick through the cameras with eye squinting, peering out for anything out of the ordinary, you tend to notice just how daunting and cold the establishment feels. Although the static effect of the camera makes the scene much greyer, there's a lot more to account for if we remove it. What is the one colour that is almost always used in horror media, regardless of if it's a game, movie, or a show? And what does the colour blue and Five Nights at Freddy's have in common? Every camera uses blue in its colour grading to give off a cold, desolate look. We see the colour blue used in a lot of horror movies, with some notable titles being The Ring and Dark Water, both American adaptations of classic J-horror films. The colour blue is much better suited for paranormal pieces of fiction, like Poltergeist, for example. When ghosts are present or in your area, you always feel a cold chill up your spine. So, in that spirit, the overall blue colour grading of the pizzeria represents how the souls of the children haunt the establishment and not just the animatronics. The reason why this is so important is because it absolutely enhances the overall context of the game. For example, if we were to go for this, instead of this, we would end up with a much less horrific and more fun, friendly scene. The reason why the second image works is because not only does it make the purple of Pirate's Cove give off a more eerie vibe, but it highlights Foxy with a near ghoulish contrast. Littered with cobwebs and other freakish decor, the pizzeria itself is shrouded in a dark shadow, accompanying the blue colour grade that all of the rooms have. Despite us having power, the dark, somber shadows help visualize the idea that the pizzeria is a rundown mess that is not really in function anymore. Above all else, it adds a certain twinge of suspense, as we can never know what lurks beyond the shadows, past what we see on the cameras at given intervals. The animatronics themselves are a very interesting case. They function quite like real-life robots, akin to Chuck E. Cheese or the Rock-afire explosion. In the daytime, they actually appear to be quite friendly and fun, but in the nighttime, their entire presence shifts, which is enhanced by the colour grading we mentioned. Apart from the colour grading that makes them spookier, the animatronics sometimes sport black and white eyes to add to the paranormal trope. And all over the map, we see things change. Missing children posters change to grotesque images of Freddy's endoskeleton peeking out of his mask. And that can sometimes change to reveal the soulless Golden Freddy's face simply staring. Without a shadow of a doubt, Scott Cawthon's expertise in atmosphere and mood inevitably shines in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and, dare I say, continues to shine until sister location at the very least. When you think about Five Nights at Freddy's, your mind should instantly go to Scott Cawthon's creations, and how he built them on such a small budget and such little time.